The IRS does something nice and planning for health care during retirement. I'm Matt Aurenz. Join me next for Your Wealth Health. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Your Wealth Health. I'm Matt Aurenz, filling in for Eric Brenner, who's on vacation this week. If you're watching us on Facebook, please hit that share button with somebody you know. And we thank those of you watching on yourwealthhealth.com. I'm a private wealth advisor with Hilltop Wealth Solutions, and I'm joined by another private wealth advisor, Bill Davis. Bill's in the studio with me, but we are social distancing, and he's about 6 feet away from me. We have some breaking news to tell you about. The IRS has actually done something nice. They announced that anyone who has taken a required minimum distribution from certain retirement accounts has until August 31st to put the money back. The announcement comes several months after the CARES Act eliminated those mandated distributions for this year, but some people have already taken them before the law was passed. This is really a good piece of news for someone who wants to roll back their distributions. So, Bill, what are your thoughts about this new rule and how should people take advantage of it?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, we're thankful that we got some guidance on this. You know, prior to getting the August 31 ruling out of the IRS, we were living under the impression that you would have to roll back under the old rules, which would be a 60-day rule. And so you can imagine if somebody, many of our clients take their required minimum distribution at the beginning of the year, so that disqualified them under the 60-day rule to be able to do a rollover. And so this is going to be some really good news. You know, they extended the tax filing deadline to July 15th. Now they've extended this deadline to August 31st. So what we believe is the opportunity is in tax planning. So many individuals have not completed their tax filing yet, and so now this just gives us some more time to do some planning and to determine should I not, should I consider other strategies with the required amount, or should I just pass on that for this year and then take it up again next year. So I think every individual is different. This isn't one of those, you know, take advice from your neighbor. It would be one of those things that I think that we believe requires sitting down, analyzing your tax return, analyzing, you know, where you're going to be for required minimum distribution next year, and then making that determination. But the biggest thing I like about it is we have clarity. We can go back, we can get some of those people that want to return their required minimum that took it out in January and February and potentially get that back into their IRA account.
That's great, Bill. You know, it's a simple rule, but it seems like it carries a lot of weight. Are you seeing any drawbacks to this rule change?
Well, yes. I think what we do for most of our clients, and I would assume other advisors do as well, is when we do the required minimum distribution, we do a federal withholding and a state withholding. So if you do want to come back and now reverse that transaction that you did earlier in the year, you won't be able to recoup your withholding, federal or state, until you file your taxes next year. At this point in time, prior to April 15th. So that could be considered a drawback. But it also, Matt, you know, one of the benefits I've seen about this is if you do return it and you've already done withholding, you know, some of our clients are paying quarterly taxes. So now back to that tax planning strategy, you know, we're going to have to figure out now maybe we don't have to do quarterly coupon payments for the federal and the state because we've already withheld enough that we know we're going to get an income, we're going to get a refund of this monies next year. So again, there's the opportunity to look at the tax planning and figure out, you know, how much in quarterlies, or can you not do any quarterly payments? It could free up some cash flow for some people.
Yeah, Bill, I appreciate that. I think there's a lot there, and I think it takes a lot of planning. So if you were to give one or two things, what's the bottom line for people?
The bottom line is you need to come back and revisit your 2020 revisit your 2020 tax filing planning right now, prior to this August 31 deadline and possibly even before the July 15th deadline. So some opportunities, Matt, that would exist for people would, should I be doing some additional gifting? Should I be, looking at some other opportunities with individual retirement account money that we've talked about on previous shows to determine, what tax bracket you're in, what is your effective tax bracket, and then how do you best take advantage of that?
Yeah, that's good. There's a lot of meat in there with such a simple rule. Well, there have been several recent surveys that indicate people are looking at retirement a little different because of the COVID-19 pandemic. More people are delaying their retirement plans, and more people are considering part-time jobs during retirement. And because of lost jobs, some people are taking retirement earlier than they planned. So, Bill, what are you learning or what are you hearing from clients about their retirement plans?
Well, Matt, originally people were getting furloughed, even from many large corporations. And I think that these people that are probably in that age bracket from, call it 58 to 65, are now, some of them are learning that they may want to consider retiring earlier. And so part of the second segment of the show is going to be talking about healthcare options, because that's where people are having the most difficult time, is determining how are they going to get healthcare. But I think people are concerned about going back to work if they are in group settings. So we're seeing teachers, public employees, fire people, police officers, and everything that's going on in that arena, concerned about going back to work and needing to consider additional options about, should I retire early or should I not?
That's great. What do you think the biggest change for most people will be as they look forward to their planning?
No, I think it's going to be a mindset change. People were under the belief prior to COVID that they were going to work till that traditional maybe 65 Medicare age, and now the realization is that they may not return to work, and they're concerned about that, and so that's where we have a lot of people that are kind of ringing us up saying, hey, can we sit down and talk about looking at what would it take to potentially retire earlier than I had expected. So I think people's mindset has totally changed.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of people that I talk to really are falling in line with those concerns that you have. It's, do I need to start looking for part-time employment in retirement, especially those who oftentimes feel they're at the latter end of their career, and if they've been furloughed, will I get called back from furlough, or I'm maybe too old, they're going to look for somebody young to replace me. These are a lot of concerns I think we're hearing on a day-to-day basis, and job security sometimes can just create a lot of fear in people, and so just planning ahead really provides a sense of calm in the storm. And so if you have questions about that, we definitely encourage you to reach out and talk to an advisor, talk to us. We'd love to have that conversation with you. Well, we have a lot of information on this issue, and so we've got news articles. Our website has several articles and guides and checklist sections, so we would encourage you to go ahead and check out those at hilltopwealthsolution.com. Healthcare is an important part of your retirement planning. What are some strategies to make sure you can get the healthcare you need? We'll have some answers when we come back.
All of our vehicles do come with a warranty. The warranty is nice because whenever you get a vehicle, you're not sure what's going to happen. I mean, it's reasonable to expect that a pre-owned vehicle is going to have an issue, but the warranty is going to help you with any internal engine, internal transmission issues. So those are the big, ugly, nasty repairs, the ones that you need help with, and that's what we're here for. So if you're driving down the road and the transmission just stops pulling, give your sales agent a call, and we'll get the process started to help you get back on the road as quickly as possible.
Welcome back to Your Wealth Health. I'm Matt Aurenz. Eric Brenner's out on vacation this week, but with me in the studio I have Bill Davis here. And healthcare is a vital part of all of our lives, and paying for it is an important piece of anyone's retirement plan. And so Bill, let me ask you this question. What do you believe is a big component of people's healthcare questions and needs when it comes to retirement planning?
Well, traditionally people are retiring at 65 because that's the age that they qualify for Medicare. And so that's a fairly simple retirement solution. You go on Medicare at age 65, you supplement Medicare with a Medicare supplement plan, and you go into retirement and there's not too many concerns as it relates to healthcare costs. What we're talking about on this show, though, are the situation where people are currently furloughed, they potentially may not have a full-time come back to full-time employment, and now they're considering, how can I plan my retirement income strategy to be able to cover health care in retirement? So some options that they'll be faced with would be, should I take COBRA? That would get them through the first 18 months. And by the way, that's a pretty pricey proposition, but they would be able to maintain the coverage that they currently have under their employer plan for that 18 months. So then what are they going to do after that if they're only going to be doing part-time employment or potentially not working at all? Well, you're going to be looking at having a non-qualified investment account that they can potentially draw money from that's not taxable to pay for individual coverage. But again, you need to take that into consideration when they're looking at the overall retirement income strategy, is how much more am I going to need to to pay for this individual health insurance. If they were in the teaching profession, they may have accumulated something called a VEBA. And a VEBA is a reasonable resource that is a tax-deferred vehicle that can be used tax-free to pay for health insurance and reimbursement to providers. And then the big one that people are taking advantage of now is the HSAs. So looking at being in a high deductible health savings account, they're able to accumulate as much as $7,100 a year for a couple. And so utilizing that vehicle to accumulate money in that HSA to be able to use tax-free dollars for health care in retirement or in part-time work prior to that Medicare age of 65.
That's great. I think the health savings account, Bill, is something that people are growing more into and beginning to appreciate more. And a lot of times when people have excess cash that they're looking to do something with or invest, we're trying to encourage people more and more to begin max funding those HSA plans because of the tax advantages that it's pre-tax contributions going in and it's tax-free dollars coming out. And some plans even allow you to invest the money, not just leave it in cash. And I think the other big advantage that we see in those plans is it's something that stays with you wherever you go for life. So if you're funding those plans, it's not, there's some plans that are kind of the old school use it or lose it. You got to use the benefits before the year end or the money is gone. But these individual health savings accounts now that are out, people can make contributions to those, and if they don't have expenses in a particular year, they can just continue to accrue that balance. And so you could be 13, 14, 20 years down the road, and we're finding that people have this pool of resources saved up for medical expenses throughout their entire retirement. And I think that's a huge advantage when you start thinking about, I have retirement plans for living expenses, but now you have this pool of money for healthcare expenses. And Bill, maybe you can just touch real quick on eligibility for a healthcare plan, an HSA plan.
Yeah, Matt, and I think that the HSA is probably the best approach, but we shouldn't overlook the fact that under the CARES Act, they recently allowed a one-time rollover from a 401k to an HSA. That could be an opportunity for somebody to get some healthcare funding. We can take advantage of the one-time withdrawal from a 401k that could be set aside for healthcare. What we're talking about is, trying to get a pool of money set aside to pay for the cost of healthcare. And I don't want to overlook the opportunity that might exist within a qualified plan. We had this graphic that we showed on a recent show that talks about the accumulation of a 401k and people that are deferring and deferring and deferring. And this pool of money could be available if you know your effective tax bracket. So we're kind of back to that tax planning that we talked about in the first segment. If you can determine what effective tax bracket you're in, and then you could manage withdrawals up to the next effective tax bracket to be able to take advantage, set some of that money aside, pay tax at a bracket that not, you're not just taking it out just to take it out, you're taking it out for a specific purpose. And we've even shown examples on this show where we've taken out as much as $20,000 in the 0% tax bracket for people that were planning on deferring that money to age 72, which is the new required minimum distribution age. So I think that combination of these retirement income strategies, taking into account healthcare as the primary focus, because we know we got to get that coverage up to age 65, it's going to require tax planning and appropriate distribution planning, because we also have to take into account, Matt, the Social Security. Should we start Social Security at 62, 63, 64, any of those ages? And that's going to require some analysis as well. But I think the VEBAs, the HSAs, the retirement plans, non-qualified buckets of money, all could come into play. People may have annuities that they've purchased in the past that we might be able to tap into guaranteed minimum withdrawal benefits that they've accumulated over the years. But it's really going to require a combination, I think, of those income sources to provide for not only the lifestyle but the health care.
Yeah, that's a lot there. I think you when you kind of get to retirement, you're looking to settle down and life gets simple, but there's a lot of decisions still to be made in healthcare, income streams, what accounts to take it from to pay for it. It can be very cumbersome. And just making sure that you're convicted and have strong convictions in the decision you make is paramount to good retirement planning, good healthcare planning, to set you up for success. And we love to help people with that. So we do want to remind you of some resources and services we have available at Hilltop Wealth Solutions. On our website, we have a Market Volatility Resource Center that is full of valuable information. We offer webinars regularly that you can sign up for on our website. And we offer a free 30-minute phone call with one of our wealth advisors if you want to pick our brains or schedule a more in-depth appointment. Coming up on Your Wealth Health, ways to build wealth during retirement that you may not have considered. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Well, Rick's Auto Body means to me, so I just believe that we all have God-given talents and we have a God-given purpose in life. And I believe mine is problem solving. So I use collision repair as just a way to fulfill my purpose in life. So Rick's Auto Body to me is something that my dad gave me as a good start, and I took it and we're building from there. But the purpose of it is to help people and to solve their problems and to be a servant in the community. Our family has been in collision repair for 47 years, And now we've expanded to 2 locations, one in Mishawaka, one in South Bend, both with the same core values of repairing vehicles and putting people first. And this facility here in Mishawaka gives us that extra room that we can really get the higher trucks in, and we can do collision repair to the higher trucks. So if you want to have more information, you can call or text my cell phone, 574-532-0658, or you can go to ricksautobodysshop.com.
Welcome back to Your Wealth Health. I'm Matt Aurenz, sitting in for Eric Brenner this week. Bill Davis is here with me in the studio. And next we want to talk about getting the most out of your pension plan. You can even use it as a way to build wealth. But before we jump into that, Bill, can you just kind of explain to us the traditional options that most people have when choosing their benefit with a pension?
Absolutely. You know, many people that have been accumulating these pensions that we talked about in the first segment, that we think a lot more people are considering taking their pensions earlier than they had traditionally thought they would. And so they haven't even looked into what are going to be the options that are going to be presented to them by the pension provider. Most commonly, you would have, if you're married, you would have an option to have 100% go to your survivor. That would be the lowest payout. You could have a life only, which is pretty simple if you're a single individual that maybe's never been married or widowed. You might think about that would be the highest payout, would be over a single life. But then there are also some, to complicate matters more, the pension provider may have a 75% to beneficiary or 50% to beneficiary, or even a term certain. And sometimes a term certain would be appropriate. So, so what we want to do is we want people to be thinking about maximizing these pensions sooner than later. And so that's why we're bringing this up, is that while you're healthy, you may want to be considering some pension maximizations, which would allow the individual to take the life only, the highest payout, and potentially set some of that money aside to be able to have a pension be intergenerational. I mean, as a traditional pension exists today, unless you have a term certain, it's not able to go to another individual. So the way I explain this to clients is that, if you take your pension and you and your spouse, and you think you have it protected 100% to your spouse, and you and your spouse crash and burn the day after you start that pension, where does it go? Well, it goes back to the pension provider. So we thought it would be valuable to talk about what we call pension maximization strategy.
That's great, Bill. Pension maximization, we'll call it Pen Max because it's easier for us. It's another opportunity for people to take a look at their situation and figure out, how can I maximize the benefits that I have? And so let's take a look at a graphic here. This graphic is a client of ours that had some pension options to take a look at. And so when we look at the graphic, we see the person is age 59, spouse is age 58 with a life expectancy of 85. And when we look at the breakdown between a single life pension versus a joint option pension, we can see that the monthly difference that they would receive over their lifetime is about $258 a month difference. And so if you took the life only option, you'd be receiving $2,318 a month. If you took the joint survivor, it's $2,060 a month. And those dollars, that difference, we're saying, hey, is there an opportunity to use that $258 a month to maximize your pension, or do what Bill just spoke of, is create a generational pension, transferring wealth in a way that you didn't have before? So we have to figure out a way, how do we continue to provide that income of the joint option, but still provide wealth to go on if in case there was an accident and both people passed away very quickly. So if we look at this next graphic, Bill, maybe you want to walk us through what this looks like. And there's a lot on the screen here, but I think it's really important for people to start seeing, hey, there are solutions out there. We just got to start thinking from a different angle.
Exactly, Matt. So what, on the previous graphic, we saw that there was $219 a month net of taxes that would be available to do something with. Now, if the person receiving the pension is still healthy, which is a critical component of a PenMax strategy, is that we can get life insurance on the recipient. So that's why earlier than later is when you want to consider your PenMax. So you may still you still may be considering retirement at 65 and you're currently 60. You could start putting away start qualifying for the insurance earlier rather than later. But under this scenario, we take the $219 net of taxes and we put that in as a premium to cover 2 policies on this person, and that would be, there's a permanent policy for $130,000, there's a term policy for $220,000, and the term policy is a 20-year term. So if the party were to pass on, the spouse would receive, or beneficiaries, it doesn't have to be a spouse, the beneficiaries would receive $350,000, and that would replace the $1,751 pension that would go away when that person passes away. So when you fast forward down to year 20 and that 20-year term policy is now expiring, you can see that now the death benefit need is significantly less, under $130,000. So we have now a permanent policy in place for $130,000. And now you'll see that you're actually having a net positive difference between the single life payout and the joint life payout. And of course, the person now is 80 years old, and when they pass on, that would be a $130,000 policy. By the way, tax-free benefit to beneficiaries or spouses that would be involved. So now what have we done? Now we've taken the highest pension payout throughout all those years. We carved out a piece of it to fund the insurance, so it had nothing to do on the person's net cash flow because they wouldn't have had it anyway if they would have taken the 100% to survivor benefit.
It's powerful stuff, Bill. You know, you've really just replaced wealth that kind of wasn't there. You've extended your retirement dollars. You've increased your net worth. And some people, you know, will pass it on to kids. Some people might look at it as a way for college planning for grandchildren. Some people are just looking, they're very charitably inclined. They're looking to pass those dollars on to a charity that they support or a church organization, something of that nature. But what we're here to say is, listen, you have a lot of options available to you. You just need to know about them. And our goal is to help increase the awareness of what you have available. Because again, in this situation, money is never lost. Money is going on to heirs. You've capitalized on an opportunity that many people don't, and we're seeing pension plans go away. So if you're in this situation, especially with the current times of furloughing or retiring early, this is just something we want to say, hey, you've got options. Let's take a look at it and schedule a phone consultation, and we'll see if it makes sense for you. Well, we're out of time for this episode of Your Wealth Health. Thank you for joining us on this 4th of July. Bill, what's your favorite thing that you like to do on the 4th?
Well, I think it's going to involve a boat on water.
A boat on the water. Maybe I'll get a quick little invite from you this weekend, and we can go have some fun get a nice sunburn, something of that nature.
There you go.
Well, for Bill Davis and everyone at Hilltop Wealth Solutions, please stay safe. We thank you for joining in. Enjoy the day, enjoy your 4th, and we'll see you next week.